Welcome to Never Again Is Now, a podcast about anti Semitism. I am Evelyn Marcus.
And I am Phyllis Zimbler Miller.
More and more artists in the entertainment industry are boycotting Israel out of solidarity with the Palestinians. We discuss this with Lana Melman, who is an attorney and entertainment industry veteran in Los Angeles. She is a leading expert fighting the cultural boycott campaign. In 2022, her book was published titled Artists Under Fire: The BDS War Against Celebrities, Jews, and Israel. Lana is the CEO of Liberate Art, Inc., a nonprofit that educates the public about the cultural boycott of Israel. She is also a journalist, and her new column, Hollywood Stories, presently appears in the Jerusalem Post. Lana, thank you for coming on our show. It's great to have you.
Thank you both so much for having me. I look forward to the opportunity.
So I get to ask the first question today, which is, can you explain to us how the Israel boycott works in the entertainment industry?
Yes, I always like to begin by making it very clear that the boycott campaign is not a human rights campaign. It's not about helping the Palestinian people. Its goal is to destroy Israel. That's its goal. And its strategy is to use the celebrity of entertainers all over the world to reach the general public and poison hearts and minds. And they've been incredibly effective and have a huge responsibility in terms of the anti-Semitism that we are all experiencing now. Their tactic is to target artists who want to perform in Israel. Now, prior to October 7th, 2023, hundreds of artists went to Israel every year. They perform there, they go there for film festivals, they accept awards, and each and every one of them was targeted by this boycott campaign. Their strategy was to demonize Israel, falsely accuse it of all sorts of crimes against humanity, and then tell the artists that if they go and keep their concert dates, that means that they support the false claim of apartheid, genocide, human rights abuses, child abuse, imprisonment, all of those things. And so they would demonize Israel and intimidate the artists. Now, the goal wasn't to to get a cancellation, which were pretty rare after a while. It was not the main goal. The main goal was to be able to spread its disinformation and propaganda. So, and the reason why this is so effective is twofold. The first point is that celebrities raise awareness. If you associate a message with a celebrity, good or bad, celebrities are clickbait. People click on it. People read the headlines. People read the stories. And so you are able to get out your message to all sorts of people who don't necessarily attend universities, who don't necessarily speak English. These are messages that go global and reach literally hundreds of millions of people. And all of these messages are repeat the BDS propaganda. Even newspapers that attempt to be fair-handed and talk about counterpoints will invariably repeat the campaign accusations. So that's number one, you've raised awareness of these false claims. But number two, the more often people hear a statement, the more likely they are to believe it's true. So if they're hearing this over and over again, that Israel is a colonial state, Israel is a racist state, it's committing genocide, which is the most absurd charge ever and way predates this recent war, they start to believe it over and over again. It's very, very powerful and it's become very, very dangerous. And we're living in it now. We are seeing the fruits of this cultural boycott campaign.
I think we seeing the poisoned fruit of this
Yes,
cultural
thank you.
campaign.
Yes.
So, Lana, this all sounds as a very or a pretty sophisticated strategy. Who is organizing this?
Well, it's not, there is the BDS campaign website. And they have lots of information and provide basically tools and talking points that any group can access. But it's not structured like a corporation. It's much more flat. So there are groups all over the world. Some of them may have 1,000 or even thousands of members. Others can have very few. Some of them appear just to focus on an artist who's going to Israel and let's say Australia or from Australia or from Canada. They pop up, they target the artist, and then when that goes away because the artist has gone, they disappear.
Okay, so
So,
so these are groups that are not belonging to an organization that put pressure on artists.
well, they usually always name themselves.
Yeah.
They're pop-ups. They'll create names for themselves. And then they make news that way. They'll circulate petitions, and there can be hundreds of signatures, sometimes thousands of signatures. There's no way for the rest of us to verify the authenticity or whether each signature belongs to one person or if one person's using, has 50 different signatures and different email addresses that they're using. So yeah, and some of them are much more enduring and are in fact more have been more concrete. United, Artists United, Artists Against Palestine UK is a industry-based organization that it has been around for a while. Abdallah, New York has been around for a while. So there are some, PACB has been around forever. And then there are other splinter groups like Code Pink that didn't start off as an anti-Israel, anti-Semitic organization, but eventually evolved into that. They started off as an anti-war group, but then they spread out. So yes, there's both those things. There are the ones that have been around and who have lots of funding, lots and lots of funding. And
From
then
whom?
there's
From whom? Where's the funding coming from?
the funding comes an awful lot from NGOs, like,
Let's say what NGOs are, non-governmental organizations.
yes, non-governmental organizations. And the sound makes you think like, oh, they're all about democracy and fairness. But no, they have political agendas. And a lot of the funding comes from individuals, uh, charitable organization. George Soros has been seen as a source of funding for what his main organization will fund other organizations. And those organizations, part of their to-do list is, supporting a boycott. And then there's also the European countries. They've been very active, again, in supporting smaller organizations that support the boycott. And that's how that is structured and where that money comes from. Those are the three primary.
And no Palestinian institutions that are behind it?
Well, yes, yes, they are. PACB comes out of Ramallah. In fact, the cultural boycott campaign was established in Ramallah in 2005, but it wasn't a grassroots campaign as they tried to present themselves. In fact, it was started by Omar Barghouti and several other people who are academic elites. And in fact, he is living in Israel and has attended the University of Tel Aviv. So yes, but it's there is that they do have that information, but that's not really where you see all the activity is much more global than just Ramallah.
Okay. In which parts of the entertainment industry do we find substantial support for the Israel boycott?
Oh, support for the boycott. Okay, well, you will find that mostly in Europe and in the UK. That's where the first momentum started. Now, this all has really evolved, and now we're seeing it starting to take hold much more in the United States. But that was an evolution. And you know that Europe and England has a dark history of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
England expelled all of its Jews for no reason at all in
And
1290 and
yeah,
didn't let them back in for 350 years. Most of your audience, I hope, is familiar with the Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades. They may not know that Spain also expelled all of its Jews and Portugal did. So, and all over Europe, and England was always very, very bad. That's what a lot of the blood libels, and blood libels are false accusations that Jews are murdering innocents. And it started off back around, I think, the somewhere between 10 AD and 12 AD with false charges that Jews were using the blood of children to make their Passover matzah. So that's where it has had its strength. And up until recently, there's been a stronghold against it in the United States. And that stronghold comes oftentimes from people who are incredibly important in the entertainment industry, but not known to the public. Those are the agents, managers, studio executives. All of those people have been very much against the boycott. And most
so
American celebrities are very much against the boycott and really believe in freedom of artistic expression.
okay, I think Evelyn also meant which group of artists within the entertainment industry are
Oh,
the biggest
Supporters.
promoters of this?
okay. Well, the biggest supporter or the original poster boy, self-anointed poster boy for the boycott campaign is Roger Waters. He originally came from the group Pink Floyd, if your audience isn't familiar with him. And he has made it his own personal
Yeah.
agenda. And this really started a little bit in 2010. He actually played Israel in 2006 and was getting pressure from, this is right after the cultural boycott campaign was initiated. So he got pressure from that group, PACB, and its leader, Omar Barghouti, not to perform in Israel. And his response is the same response that other celebrities make today and entertainers make today, which is no, I play for people, not governments, and I want to reach those people and connect with them and bring them closer and share my thoughts. And now, of course, he doesn't want to allow other artists to do that. And he ultimately, really, though, um, kind of launched his anti-Zionist career in 2013 in an article in Rolling Stone by
Yes,
John Bilstein.
but Lana, today, which parts of the entertainment industry, which groups, which categories in the entertainment?
Oh, it's really across the board. There's
Okay,
Mark Ruffalo, right? Who's an actor, Javier Bardem, who's an actor, Susan Sarandon, who's an actor, all of those people. But there's also those other members that are like talking head celebrities that are just awful. John Oliver, Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, all of those people are really terrible. So that's film, and then there's kind of commentary. The most so Mostly the musicians have been victimized by the campaigns because they're the ones that travel internationally.
I see. Yeah,
So that's where it was the most active.
yeah,
But we also have a lot of support.
yeah. Okay, we'll
And
get to this. Yeah.
how do you fight? How does your organization, your nonprofit organization, fight against this anti-Semitism and the
Well,
cultural boycott?
Initially, before I established Liberate Art, I worked at another organization and started there around 2011 when really the cultural boycott campaign just started to have momentum. And in that instance, I worked directly with the representatives of artists who were being attacked. And I would write them emails, I'd talk to them on the phone, I'd answer their questions because they were bombarded. Their clients' social media pages were being filled with like horrible comments, not just about Israel, but about the artists themselves. The artists received threats. They character assassinations, just really horrible stuff. So I would talk to them, communicate with them, and answer questions, present the truth, and was very, very effective in really minimizing cancellations. So at first there was a peak of cancellations, but then, once we got to work, we saw that start to drop. And then around 2015, I noticed this interesting thing that had happened. Whereas initially, the artists were so taken aback and horrified that they were being villainized, they would panic. But then they saw it went on for 4 years and careers were okay. The campaigns would be like this hurricane around them and then disappear after the performance. So it wasn't having the same effect. Yet the campaign did not stop. It continued to go after every single artist who had and when I say artists, it's important for your audience to know I'm talking primarily of entertainers. I'm just using it because it's broad and also includes authors, musicians, as well as actors, filmmakers. So, but it didn't slow them down, the fact that the actual boycott was not working. And that goes back to what we first started talking about, which is an actual cancellation was the cherry on top for them. What they want is to publicly attack and be able to demonize Israel. So that brought me to stage two and establishing Liberate Art. Because now I wanted to let the public know. I had all of this information about what was happening, how it was happening, what were the effective means of combating it, and I wanted to share it with the public. So I started writing columns, doing public speaking, podcasts. I wrote my book, Artists Under Fire, and it has fabulous stories in it, lots of anecdotes, but also helps you see the connection between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, and is really great for educating people who may feel that like they don't have enough knowledge about the subject to speak up. And then, so I've been doing that for quite a while. And now I feel like the cat's out of the bag, people, horses out of the barn, all of those metaphors. And people know we're in trouble. People know this is anti-Semitism. It has happened. And so what I'm trying to do now is answer the question that I would get all the time is, where are all the celebrities who support Israel, who are proud Jews, who are against all of this? So that's why I started my column, Hollywood Stories. And I do these wonderful, in-depth interviews of people in show business, primarily, who either Jews and non-Jews who support Israel and or are proud Jews and are speaking or want to speak out.
Where do you have your podcast?
Oh, it's not a podcast. I don't do a podcast. I'm an author and a
Oh,
writer. So
yes.
I write. And right now I own the column, so it can be anywhere, but right now I've been working with the Jerusalem Post. And it
Okay.
appears in the magazine with pictures of them as little kids, and it's really, really wonderful.
Yeah. So, who are, for instance, artists, well-known artists who speak up against the boycott, for Israel or against the boycott?
Well, there's Deborah Messing. She was known best for her long-standing role on Will and Grace. She was the star of Will and Grace, a popular U.S. sitcom, and she's been absolutely extraordinary. She's been everywhere. She is an executive producer on a film called October 8, which attempts to show you what's been going on college campuses and around the world. There's David Schwimmer. He has been masterful about standing up for the rape and sexual abuse of Israeli women and really called out the industry, which was all about hashtag Me Too, believe all women.
Yeah.
And he said, so you believe all women, but not Israeli women? He's been
Let's just remind
fantastic.
our audience who David Schwimmer, long
Yes.
time,
Yes,
long time
thank you,
star.
thank you. You're right. David Schwimmer is an actor. He was on Friends and Ross. He played Ross and had a romantic relationship with the actress Jennifer Aniston on the show. That was the
Right.
big love
Yes.
romance theme. And then there's Mayim Bialik, who has been also, she's also an actress. People would know her
Yes.
from, what's the name of her show again? The one about all the nerdy
Yes.
scientists.
Sheldon. Wait. No.
Yes, Sheldon is the main character. Oh, it'll
Young.
come to us in a second. Oh my goodness. Okay. But she's an Orthodox Jew. She's very open about that, which has been really wonderful, I think, for the Orthodox community inside of the entertainment business. And she has publicly said she would take a bullet for the country because she was one of the first that came out. She's wonderful. But Lee Schreiber, who's a very famous actor, Amy Schumer, actress, I think she's a great comedian. I think people know about her. But all of those are Jews, but there's also been a lot of non-Jews.
Good.
And my personal favorite is Bill Maher.
Mm.
Bill Maher he's a comic that has a show on the air. It used to be Politically Incorrect. What is it called today? Bill Maher
Mm,
Show. Oh
not sure.
goodness.
I,
Um, anyway, he has been fantastic, and he absolutely brings up the subject over and over again, and he's progressively educated himself. So now he's a wonderful advocate for Israel. And I actually happened to have bumped into him. I was in a hotel, in a restaurant there, and he sat down next to me. And I tapped him on the shoulder and thanked him for supporting the Jewish people in Israel.
Great.
He's been really wonderful. Patricia Heaton, everybody loves
Yes,
Raymond,
everybody
and
loves Raymond, not Jewish.
not Jewish. Bill Maher is not Jewish. He was raised Catholic. She has been incredible, and she called the signers of this recent film workers for Palestine petition. She referred to them as Hollywood Hamas for their blind allegiance and supporting the really the violence that's going on, not being on the right side of history. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's been great. His father, everyone knows him, I think, from the Terminator.
Yes.
And he had a huge career, and he was the governor of California.
Right.
And he's been wonderful. His father was a stormtrooper
Yes.
in the 30s.
Yes. Let's make
And
it a stormtrooper means that he was a Nazi and he
well, they were actually a paramilitary group. They're also known as the Brown Shirts. So they
Yeah.
yes,
weren't
but
in
it's
the
part of Hitler's Third
Oh,
Reich.
yes,
Let's just make it really clear.
they
in Austria.
worked a
Yeah.
lot like some of the groups are working now, and that is to intimidate the general public. So they were instrumental. They weren't part of the military, but they were instrumental
Yes.
in imposing
Yes.
the Nazi rule.
Right.
And then there's
Yes.
Helen Mirren, which people forget about, but she has been amazing and steadfast. And she, of course, is a great actress with numerous awards under her
And
belt.
not
English,
Jewish. Am I right?
not Jewish, none of those. Bill Maher, Patricia Heaton,
Good.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Helen Mirren are not Jewish.
Well, that's good to hear. Lana, last month, a pledge was signed by more than 4,000 people of film workers for Palestine, a group called
Mhm.
Film Workers for Palestine, to not work with Israeli film institutions implicated, quote, implicated in the genocide and apartheid against the Palestinian people, end of quote. Two studios, Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery, rebuked the pledge. What were the reasons these studios didn't honor the pledge?
Well, I think common sense and integrity. Common sense will tell you that the accusations against Israel are false, and they have integrity to stand up to the clamoring. They're also, Paramount was just bought by David Ellison, Larry
David.
Ellison's son, and they're both big supporters of Israel. And Warner Brothers is rumored to be a potential object of takeover by Paramount, so they may end up being one group. And then there's also the very real fact that this could be a civil rights violation. Any studio that cooperates with this is enforcing a blacklist, and that's a civil rights violation of discrimination. And I also want to mention that Paramount is also put its money where its mouth is and picked up a new series, which I recommend to your audience on Paramount Plus. It's called Red Alert. It's produced by the one of the A plus plus producers in Hollywood, Lawrence Bender, who did all of the Quentin Tarantino movies. And he produced An Inconvenient Truth. So here he is, a big lefty. He was a very active in democratic
I've
causes.
already I binged all 4 episodes already. And
Fantastic.
it's I just want to say it's very much based on truth, meaning it is, and at the end, it's so moving when it shows some of the
Oh, don't
awards.
tell me. Go ahead. I'm kidding.
No, because it shows some of the awards that common people, civilians got
Oh,
for what they did on that day, including an Arab. And I can't tell you how moving it is. So
well,
everyone watch it.
yes, everybody should watch it. And if you look carefully at the end of the first episode and the end credits, I get a shout out and thank you from the production team.
Very good.
So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
It's a project of the Jewish National Fund, and one of the things that they have raised money to bring production to Israel for Israeli filmmakers. They're also bringing actively making this happen, bringing American film stars, really, filmmaking stars to their board. And they have a wonderful list of upcoming projects that I think are really going to make a difference and show all different sides of Israel, which is important.
Yeah.
And I want to give another plug. HBO Max also just released one day in October. It's 7 episodes. I binged that too. And it is some of the episodes are exact stories, and some of them are a little bit combined. And
Mhm.
again, brilliantly done. Just brilliantly done.
Israelis have really distinguished themselves as extraordinary filmmakers. They have, because they have essentially typically a small audience, a Hebrew speaking audience. They don't have a lot of money. And so they've really focused, not like much of American film, on doing things with lots of special effects and, made for huge movie theaters. And they, in fact, have focused in on personal stories, character, drama, and they've done an amazing job. And as it turns out, people in the world are attracted to that. Because when you tell a very intimate, personal story, that story appeals universally to people.
Exactly.
So, Lana, the fact that Paramount rebuked the petition of Filmworkers for
Mhm.
Palestine, and Warner Bros. Discovery did, and the fact that Paramount bought has CBS, and CBS now they also bought the Free Press, and um, they are also making a turnaround with Barry Wise now in charge of CBS Studios, or CBS
News.
News, I should say.
News.
So, are we seeing a trend now, starting trends to stop the cultural boycott of Israel in Hollywood?
No. And that's because, like I said, it's not really about a boycott. It's not really about a boycott. It's about using the boycott to spread disinformation. So in the beginning, in 2005, 2011, there was no traction whatsoever, very little inside any, entertainment factions. They were out there champion. When there's a change of administration in Israel, and they never stopped the campaign. The campaign goes on during conflict and during periods of peace or relative, like a lack of conflict. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because that is what the goal is. So, but do I think it's going to um, quiet some people? Yes. And those are people that one of the things I do in my book, again, Artists Under Fire, is I talk about the different levels of support among people in the industry. And some of them are diehard zealots like Ruffalo and Roger Waters and Susan Sarandon. Others are what I refer to as fellow travelers. They're progressive in their politics and these people that, this is getting blurred in. The BDS campaign or the boycott campaign has been very, very effective in meshing this anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist campaign into progressive politics and thinking, making it one and the same. And I think that those people may be now, if there's some mud on their face, for being absolutely silent now that there's a ceasefire and not applauding. I'm not aware of a single person
No.
who signed that boycott pledge, who cheered or made a statement saying, well, thank goodness, and I'm so glad, and I'm happy not to boycott Israeli institutions and not one. So do I think that they will back off of that? Yes. And I'm not really sure how effective it would be if they how active that really will be. But in any event, so yes.
I
But
would like to put in a plug right here because we're
okay,
coming to the end.
okay,
Creative Community for Peace.
yes.
Were you there last night?
No, I was their first director. I was there for 4 years. I helped launch that organization. No, I
So it
wasn't
came
there.
out of the music industry. And I'm not so steady on my feet. So I sent my daughter, who works at Disney Plus, as my representative last night. And she texted me and said, I understand, I'm paraphrasing, why you really like this organization. They actually do things, they really make a difference. So I would absolutely encourage everyone who wants to work on on these boycott issues, besides supporting you, to go to create a community for peace because it's a pretty amazing organization.
Yes,
So
I'm very proud
anyway,
of it. I'm very proud of it. We started off with absolutely nothing, and we did really, really, really great work. And that's an important niche that they fill. But this work against this is really very much a mosaic, and like tiles in a mosaic, and everyone has their role, and people are doing that. But we need everyone to do what they're doing to effectively push back.
I
But
agree.
the fact is that there's no power there to stop it. There's always going to be some people involved, and until the goal isn't about this. The goal is, I think, very much more on the line of where we're going in terms of when the Arab community and international community makes statements that make it or takes actions that make it clear that they are not boycotting Israel. And then that makes it,
Yeah. Hopefully that
yes,
moment is near.
yes.
yes.
Anyway, Lana, we thank you so very much for coming on the show. We thank our listeners for tuning in. And if you want to know anything more about Evelyn and myself and our work in this area, please go to neveragainisnowpodcast.com. And please, wherever you are, speak up against anti Semitism and all hate.